Hi, everybody. Okay, so there's one thing I like about Paramount Plus. I can watch episodes from about 2 weeks ago, whenever I want, because we're on today's date is the 19th, and I just watched the episode from 3-3. Okay, now, there are two reasons I did this: to see if there was any movement in the storyline whatsoever, but also to see if uh, I could watch around the scenes with Phyllis in them. So I was able to do both things. So, and there's also another thing I want to highlight here. This episode was directed by Elizabeth Hendrickson. Now, Elizabeth Hendrickson may be a familiar name for most of you who watch soap operas at all, because she played I forget, Maggie. I think it was Maggie on All My Children, and then she played Chloe on YNR. But Chloe's character kind of got phased out because she got married to what's his name? Uh, his actual name is Greg Ricard, but Kevin. So okay, she married Kevin, but as soon as they got married, they got boring, legit. So then they tried to have her on, but then she got kind of annoying. So they kind of phased out her character, but apparently she directs. So she directed this episode. And you can tell that a woman directed the episode because the story just kind of flows, and you get a bunch of backstory details and stuff that you don't normally get. Because, okay, it kind of jumps around, but I was able to follow it. So we see Michael Graside, give it up, woohoo! Michael Graside is my man. Um, and Sharon Case. And so they were in a scene and they were talking about how's Mariah doing. The wonderful Cameron Grimes, who they underutilize all the time. But that's another discussion for another day. So they're talking about the how's Mariah doing, and they go into details and stuff. And then Sharon, like Sharon does, kind of tries to dig, but she doesn't want to seem like she's digging for details. That, well, it seems like you and Tessa are getting kind of close. What's going on with that? And he says, "Hey, I didn't want to be in the middle of this. I want Mariah to get better. But also, what is Tessa supposed to do? Just sit around and wait for her wife to get better? Like she's supposed to sit on the sidelines? I don't think so." Okay, so then Sienna lives there now. And we get a little bit of backstory in case you didn't know. Uh, Sienna apparently moved back to Los Angeles, felt like she didn't belong there anymore, coincides with Noah went to LA to get the girl, made a plea or whatever about how great they would be together, and kabang, Sienna's in Los Angeles. Or back in Genoa City, which is so ironic because obviously it's filmed in LA, but whatever. Okay, so then Sienna makes a comment about how I guess she's getting used to the cold. And then so Tessa said, "Hey, I didn't think I'd see you again." And then she goes into the thing, and then they start talking about how's it going. Da, da, da. Then Michael Graside, Daniel, comes out and says, "Oh, hey, uh, how are you doing? And hi, nice to meet you." So then he and Sienna shake hands. And then they talk about how Daniel is learning the guitar and how Tessa's teaching him and yada, yada, yada. And so I'm like, okay, okay. So then we get to the meat of it, which is what I've been waiting for. Which I kind of suggested, projected, I guess, that Claire and Kyle were going to get back together, but I just didn't know when. Because clearly, and it's sad to say, but it shouldn't be this way. The reason why I'm kind of sad about this is that it's 2026, and clearly Y&R is not open to interracial relationships, and I wish they would be. But I'm not going to go on that rant again. Okay. So because of that, they had to break up Claire and Holden, right? But they put it under the guise of Holden wouldn't tell her the truth, so she can't be with somebody who's not honest, which I agree with her, but to a point, okay? Because like I said before, I have said this. When you are new in a relationship and you have to assume that people have a past, okay? You are not privy to what happened in the past, the same as a man or whatever. It's not privy to what happened in your past, unless it's going to directly affect him. At which point, then maybe yes. But until that threshold is passed, you don't owe each other anything. Relationship 102. Okay, so then they're gonna get back together because they have to have Kyle and Claire back together, whatever. Which I'm excited about, but if they move and they really move the needle, cool. If they're gonna be coasting, I don't want it. Because I've talked about this before, and it's not even me, okay, it's an element. If you have a couple and they get together, most of the time when they get together, after they get together, it's boring. Okay, as a viewer, you don't want to see that. You have to see the ebb and flows. Otherwise, there's nothing to watch. Think about uh, well, geez, okay, what couple can I bring up? Okay, Cheers. Everybody has watched Cheers, right? Okay, so the big hook was Sam and Diane. Are Sam and Diane ever going to get together? Ever. Okay? It took 2 seasons, or maybe 3, 2, for them to get together. Okay, so they finally get together. Then it's like, oh, they're not a match. They feel good on paper, but in reality, they're not. And then it was, oh, okay. And then it was the back and forth and back and forth. And then even in their last season, um, Shelley Long came back, and they made up a storyline of they met each other, but it just wasn't meant to be, kind of a thing. So whatever. But my point is, once the couple gets together, that's it. Unless you plan on doing something and breaking them up and putting them back together and breaking them up and putting them back, there's no point. Because the thrill of the whatever, the question, the chase, is gone. Look at any genre you want, anything. Okay, it's the same principle here. Okay, so I'm kind of excited about that. I'm kind of on the fence about that one. Gonna see what happens there. Okay. I'm really excited for Tessa and Daniel, not because of Tessa and Daniel, but because finally a new direction. And they seem to like each other and have genuine chemistry, which I like, because another thing I hate is forced chemistry. And I'm like, clearly these people don't like each other. So yeah, I can see it on the screen. So I'm excited for the coupling. Um, okay. What else? Oh, and then it goes into the whole Victor versus Jack thing, and so and you kind of lose me there because we've seen that 10 times at least, so it gets kind of boring. So see what I'm saying? Like, if I can predict what's gonna happen, I get bored. And if I can tell you exactly what's gonna happen, and maybe not the timing, but like, okay, it's gonna do this and then that and then that, I'm like, what's the point? That's why I dip in and out of everything I do. So, all right, bye guys.